The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave.
Oh, yeah.
We have another fun-filled, exciting episode for you today. We are on the verge of getting all of Dragons of Tarkir, and we're pretty excited. I have to say...
Show me the lands.
Yeah.
Show me the lands.
At this point in time, so it might change by the time the episode's posted, but we still don't have lands yet, except for one, which is Haven of the Spirit Dragon, which gets you
Time's been good to that terrible Fate Reforged card.
Yeah. It lets you get your Ugin back. Or dragon, but it lets you get your Ugin back and can cast your dragons. It's
How Sarkhan got his Ugin back?
Yeah, exactly. It's a Sliver Hive for dragons. So we're still waiting on those. We also have Evolving Wilds as well, technically.
Yes,
but that of art on Evolving Wilds is like the new best Evolving Wilds art, 100%.
I like Dark Ascension.
Are you talking about the promo one or the one?
Both of them.
The
Either of
one?
them. I think they're both amazing.
Yeah, I like the promo one. That one's sweet.
Yeah.
I usually don't like the promo art,
but it's like I think it's like a non-foil promo. Anyway, we're getting off track. We haven't even I haven't even told you that we have another.
We're so excited about the set. We're talking about Evolving Wilds.
Yeah. That's how desperate we are. So we obviously over the weekend had PAX. So we had the PAX East panel. So we definitely want to talk about that.
What'd you
open? What?
In your PAX?
That's not what I meant.
Oh.
I did win a lot of PAX over the weekend. We'll get to that later. Way later.
So somebody won a lot of packs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're talking about the Penny Arcade Expo in that particular meaning
PAX,
of PAX. Yes. So we got info on Dragons, we got info on Modern Masters 2015, and we got info on Magic Origins and something else that we'll get to when we talk about the community subjects. And then we had two GPs over the weekend, Liverpool and Miami. And since Star City was hosting GP Miami, there wasn't any sort of opens or anything like that. And then there was a super... Anyway... There's some
the jet going by.
I'm pretty sure there was like a bomber going.
Hey, we're coming to you live from the Columbus airstrip. The Blue Angels are going to come by and do some twirly tricks for us.
So,
sorry, I don't know.
There was also a super late night PPTQ that we could discuss just a little bit. And then we have a return of the question of the week, which is pretty awesome. And then we're going to go over our top 5 Fate Reforged cards. And we're actually going to start kind of doing this after enough time has passed between new sets, where we're actually going to take a look at what we said and see what happens.
Yeah, we're doing our review episode next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to do this every time before our review set.
I think so. I think that's a good time to do it.
Wait, what's coming next week?
The
Dragons of Tarkir Palooza.
It's different. I enjoy it.
It's always a palooza.
So we'll go ahead and let's talk about PAX. So obviously we did get some sweet spoilers from PAX. I think the top of them definitely being the new Sarkhan. Sarkhan Unbroken. He got a little blue in him, which he didn't mind apparently. And for someone who is unbroken, he seems... maybe kind of broken.
He went there.
So he is 2 green, blue, red. So this is our first tricolor walker, correct? Second. Because Nicol Bolas.
Yeah, Nicol Bolas.
And
interesting parallel, though.
So he starts off with 4 loyalty, but you can +1 him and draw a card, and add any color, and add a color of any mana to your mana pool. I don't know. I should have said that a little bit cleaner, but that's a pretty good +1. People like that. Like people like drawing cards, adding mana. It's fine. His probably his most notable ability though is his -2. Put a 4/4 red dragon token into play, which is pretty good. And then lastly, his ultimate is Dragonstorm, right?
For it is in fact Dragonstorm.
For infinite. It's all your dragons that you have in your deck. So you get to search your deck for all the dragons you have. Do you put them in? You put them into onto the battlefield. Put them into play.
Yeah. Sarkhan just goes.
He assembles the Dragon Sword.
I'm sorry. That one's.
So that's definitely the most exciting Planeswalker. I guess
Whoa, hold on here.
the
Hold on
only
here.
Planeswalker that was spoiled at PAX.
That's what I was actually there was a second Planeswalker spoiled the pack.
Oh, okay. From Dragons of Tarkir.
Okay,
I have to
yeah,
keep
yeah.
going down. I see.
I'm going to do this the whole time. I'm sorry, Morgan.
So just like quick off the cuff thoughts of Sarkhan.
Yeah, I think Sarkhan's pretty good. I'm going to use my off the cuff moment though to discuss what they said about his lore, because this panel did a lot of the lore building as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sarkhan not born in the current timeline.
Correct. His parents did not meet.
And I think that's actually fairly interesting. They said that they said that Sarkhan. So in his new timeline, he was not born. So he should technically be the only being that existed in the, at least on Tarkir, that existed in the old timeline and traveled through to the new. Obviously, Ugin has existed the whole time, but doesn't know a future where he doesn't exist. So when it says like Sarkhan Unbroken, hilariously, one, he'll still sound like a madman when he talks to people.
Yes,
But,
correct.
But two, like once he figures this out, I'm cool. I'm happy to see where this goes story wise, because there's like a liberation for him for this. Like he has no past here, so he no longer has that weird tie. Like all the lore to Tarkir was how he had like guilt over not being a good Mardu member and didn't know, and he went to go soul search Teamer, by the way. Because he went to go see one of the spirit guides, which is interesting that now he's Teamer. So it's just kind of cool that, like, now they can kind of do whatever they want with Sarkhan. Like, his mind's clear, he's a cool walker that has unique abilities, and he doesn't have that weird guilt thing anymore. Didn't even have to go see, like, they can't even be like, why is Sarkhan on this plane? He had to go visit his parents. Actually, not going to happen.
Yep.
That's
Doesn't
pretty
have
cool.
him anymore.
I didn't know that.
The look on Dave's face when I said that Sarkhan wasn't born. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
So, like in the trailer, like he says he's an orphan of time. So, yeah.
It's also interesting, though, that his name, so if you went with the lore too, his name means the Great Khan, which was given to him as a joke. Like, oh, look, he's the Sarkhan, ha ha ha. But now that the Khan name isn't even allowed, then, like, there's this idea that he'll probably just become, like, a legend on Tarkir. Like, did you hear about the Sarkhan? Like, he defies the dragons. Like, yeah, he does.
Dave, opinions about Sarkhan?
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to talk about the card.
Yeah, go ahead. I like flavor. It's cool.
I don't know. Like, to be honest, I haven't really like taken the time to really break it down. I think it's good. I don't know if it's as good as everybody thinks, just because it being like 3 colors, and I mean, +1 draw a card is pretty good. Not to mention the adding a mana can help you ramp into things. So, what's that?
Atarka.
Atarka, yeah. That would be pretty good. So, I mean, the abilities are definitely good enough. 5 mana Planeswalker that's 3 different colors. We'll see. I'll probably need some more time to really think about it. But just off the cuff, I think it's good.
Honestly, it really reminds me of the Garrick. What was the 3 green Garrick?
Big Garrick. That's what I always call it.
Primal Hunter?
Primal Hunter, yes.
Yeah.
It's very, in my mind, it's very similar to him. Like, makes a creature so it protects itself, has the ability to draw cards, but was very constrictive in how you could cast it. Like, triple green was not easy to cast. Rug is not always easy to cast. So I feel like the raw power is there. But yeah, like finding the deck for it, you know what I mean? Unlike some other Planeswalkers, it doesn't just slot in, you know what I mean? So it's cool, though. It's a new toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of took my opinions, is that you have to find a place for it. If he finds a place, then...
Well, you can't. He's an orphan.
Okay, yeah, I get that. If you find a deck for him, I think that he'll be really powerful and really good. But if he just doesn't go anywhere, then it's going to be hard for him to really like earn his keep in Standard.
I will say it's kind of funny that like Teamer's kind of like the only clan that really didn't have like a tier 1 deck. So he might be the one to like bring them to the forefront. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Just in time for them not to exist.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And obviously there were other spoilers for dragons, but we're going to save those. We just wanted to, at least touch on Sarkhan. We also got more information, just like the tiniest little bit about Modern Masters 2015. We know that Tarmogoyf is going to be coming back, which everyone called. Like, no one didn't say that at any point in time. He is a mythic still, so they're not like, oh, he's at rare. But Karn is going to be joining him at mythic rare as well. So that'll be pretty cool. Now, obviously, seeing Karn printed and him being more of a narrow card will probably affect his price more than so more than a Tarmogoyf or a Dark Confidant printing.
Right, I would agree with that. It's really interesting, and this I think says a lot about for all the things that people criticize Wizards for and Moto and whatever else. There was some criticism over the new card frame. When we got the new card frame. And over the weekend, as soon as it was spoiled and the image was shown, I saw a number of people just on Facebook, but on Twitter and stuff too, talking about how they wanted to swap out they like the Modern Masters art. Now they can have the new one with they wanted the new one with the new card frame. And I'm like, wait, you guys want to trade your current Tarmogoyfs for the new card frame? Like, well, people have truly adopted the frame. So it was kind of cool to see that reaction to it. Like, a card that is that expensive and that sought after, and people were actively like, yeah, I want that new one. Give me that new one. Give me that new cool tea, that Bellerin tea, which would probably be delicious.
Probably, I don't know. I mean, future sight all the way for me, but whatever floats your boat.
God, you love being a hipster.
I do.
You could see the way he's looking at me with his hat and his glasses right now. It would just be
like something honestly weird. I don't know if I really like the set symbol. Like, completely something super picky and, like, ridiculous.
It is odd. It just look like the circle from Modern Masters and, like, cracked an egg.
We'll turn it sideways, and then we'll take another one, and then we'll put it out one sideways.
I'm just not that much of a fan of it. After seeing it on a few cards, not really what I dig. I like the new card frame. It has grown on me a lot, but, yeah, just not a fan of the set symbol. So
yeah, that's very hipster.
There really wasn't anything else about Modern Masters 2015 that they really talked about other than showing the cards.
Not really.
So, I mean, it's coming out sooner than we think, which is
there's
pretty
pre-orders
exciting.
available for it. So.
Yeah, once I saw that from our local shops, I was like, wow.
So maybe the podcast gets a box?
It's tempting.
Man, that'd be some sweet content.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd be interested, and this is just me trying to sway our cash dollars, if you would be interested in seeing some content of us drafting a box of Modern Masters, let us know, and maybe we'll try to pick one up and do that.
We'll see what we could do.
Maybe we'll just do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe we just really want to do it.
Maybe we'll just do it and not show you guys.
We'll make you think that the power's in your hands.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't show them the strings. Don't show them the strings.
All right.
We're supposed to be masters of the unseen here.
I see what you did there.
I did it.
Forget what I said there.
So next up, they talked about Magic Origins, and they had already told us that they were going to show us the card that the Liliana arts were based on, and they held true to their promise. They showed us Liliana Heretical Healer / Liliana Defiant Necromancer.
Bravo, Dave, by the way. Bravo. I applauded you in show chat when this happened. Like, I agreed with you. It made logical sense, but you definitely were all on this. Like, they're definitely flip cards. And I was just like, man, look at this. Like, Snap called it.
I'll take that. Yeah.
So, that's how they are going to do at least five planeswalkers from this set. I can't. Now they've said that the other characters may show up. I don't know if those characters would be planeswalkers as well.
Like, would we get like regular walkers in addition to these sort of transfixed walkers?
Yeah, that would feel weird. That would feel like a lot of mythic slots dedicated to planeswalkers when you're already going to have 5. But
they did say they're going to do different things with Origins and kind of go wacky. So maybe like all the mythics are planeswalkers, every single one.
That'd be insane.
You get a planeswalker, and you get a planeswalker, and you get a legendary creature that eventually becomes a planeswalker.
So they are going to have double face cards in a beginner set, basically, which is
that's not a beginner set.
Yeah,
anymore.
See, I still think that's not accurate.
Not true anymore.
They have thrown that out the window.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well go hard in the paint. From what I know,
yeah. It's gonna be banging.
Magic Origins is officially going ham sandwich.
Anyway, let's talk about the card. So, the front face of the card is a legendary creature, Liliana Heretical Healer, black 1, lifelink for a 2/3, and then whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile Liliana, then return her to the battlefield. If you do, battlefield transformed under your control. And if you do. Put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. And then the transform side is the Planeswalker, obviously. And it starts off with 3 loyalty and has a +2. Each player discards a card. -X, return target non-legendary creature card with the converted mana cost of X from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then -8. You get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So she gets all of your creatures. She truly now. I have to say I'm not necessarily thrilled about this card, but it does feel like they really hit home with her being a necromancer.
Yeah, I mean, the Planeswalker abilities especially are very Liliana-esque
Yeah.
abilities.
Because, when you look at Liliana the Veil, you're like, I guess. And, Liliana Vest kind of gets that, but still, all the Lilianas have been hit or miss with them be feeling like she is a necromancer. But this flavorfully, I feel like, best represents that.
I think the other cool thing about the flavor here is that, her storyline is that she was supposed to, she was trying to heal her brother, and she was given some bad things and messed up, and then her brother, died and became a zombie, and that's when she sparked. And what's really cool is that all of them, the card is supposed to mimic the spark. So when, her trigger, when another non-token creature dies, she gets exiled. That's her planeswalking for the first time. And what's really cool is it's so clean because it reduces things like, enchant creatures on the creature.
Equipment.
It doesn't matter. Equipment, counters, it doesn't matter. It would have to say, if they didn't do this, we were talking about how it would have to flip up. It would have to say, transform it and put blank loyalty counters on it. Because otherwise it would turn up and have no loyalty counters and die. So this is a really, this is one of the coolest little design things you'll see. The marriage between, awesome flavor, planeswalk. And then at the same time, this actually had to happen for the card to exist.
We need this.
Yeah, not to mention flavor wise, you get the zombie too.
Yeah,
it's just you get the brother.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because it's the way the card the Planeswalker pseudo protects itself, right? Which is kind of cute. It
is. That was a blocker for your planeswalker.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, this new kid doesn't protect yourself." And I'm like, "Well, it kind of does, just a little bit." I wonder if all the other ones will have effects like this, where they have a bonus when they planeswalk. That'll be interesting to think about.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all going to be when a creature dies, but I'm sure it's something.
Yeah, if you do
similar,
this, X.
Right?
Chandra, doesn't she lose her mind and go all Inferno on everybody when she planeswalks? So
yeah, so maybe it's if you have no cards in hand or something.
Yeah. It's the Anger of the Gods, something like this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the actual trigger abilities for all these are, but I think it's pretty awesome. We found out that Gideon's from Theros and has a different name and is referenced on a card from Journey into Nyx, which is awesome.
Yeah, that was actually. Yeah, you showed me up, Morgan. And I was my mind was blown. I was like, "What? Oh man!"
Yeah, you guys really do play in this stuff, don't you? Oh, who knew? That's crazy.
Did you see the pictures of the little girl at PAX who was dressed as the
heretical healer, Liliana?
Playing Magic? And I was just like, "Oh, you're gonna be really crazy when you grow up." Don't kill your brother.
But I'm excited. I guess obviously the characters they've picked they've all said are going to be very important in the storyline going forward. It makes sense that Jace and Chandra are kind of going to be important. They feel like figureheads of the Magic brand. It doesn't feel like they're going anywhere, and they also have important roles to play in sort of the next set that we might be heading on to. As do do we have another opinion before we move on?
Oh, I was just going to mention with Jace. They did mention in the panel that we're going to see Jace's home world that he doesn't
world
even remember.
That he doesn't even know. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Real.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you finish.
Sure.
Okay. But also it's interesting that they would discuss Magic Origins right now when we know that a movie is slowly but surely coming. So it's sort of interesting too. Look, here are these character introductions. Which one did you guys like the most? Oh, this one? Cool. Guess what the movie's about?
I mean, the movie's going to be about Jace.
Yeah,
there's no way that it's not about Jace and XYZ Planeswalkers.
Coming to a theater near you. Hase!
Anyway, but so we have Gideon, we have Nissa, Jace, Chandra, and Liliana. So 4 out of the 5 of those cards were in Zendikar, right?
Oh, man. Do you think they might get together and fight?
Maybe do some battles?
Go to battle together?
So what we're obviously alluding to is that the next set is one of the sweetest named sets, Battle for Zendikar. Such a good name.
Ding ding.
Such a good name. I'm like, you just hear that, you're like, I'm amped. I'm ready to go battle for Zendikar.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yeah, just knowing that they're going back to Zendikar with the next block, it makes me really excited for Theros to just rotate out of standard already. I just want to have
sleeve
because I love Khan's block. Like, it might be my favorite block ever. And like having like Khans and Zendikar together, it's like, oh man, I don't even care. This standard is going to be sweet.
So Landfall comes back and we have 10 fetches?
I don't know.
Not out of the question, but not a guarantee.
Yeah,
obviously.
most certainly. But yeah, so far we only have really key art where it's Gideon, obviously. So he seems to be the one that's really, really wanting to fight. So
we also have some. The key art has another character, though.
Oh, Ulamog.
Yeah, Ulamog's definitely there as well. So
he is gyrating or something. I don't know.
Is that a giant hula hoop?
We must stop this.
Nisa's like, this is why all the elves died?
Huh. But yeah, we're all pretty jazzed, and everyone seemed to be pretty floored by it in the actual auditorium when it was announced. And the trailer they did for it was pretty well stylized and everything like that. So not much is known, obviously, but everyone's still pretty excited. So yeah. Yeah, PAX is always fun. I always like when they do panels and stuff like that. You always just get a bunch of new information and stuff. So, great times. It was awesome to watch it live from it being live streamed.
It's really cool too because they have like live questions, and you get like the normal stuff like, oh yeah, like, what's your favorite planeswalker? Which I'm not belittling people who would ask that question, but like then you get the person who's like, who comes up with his glasses, who's like, so when Soren goes back in time, this happens and this happens. What do you think is the outcome of this? And I love that question because that's me. And Doug Bayer has to sit there and be like, okay, well, so the story, like, this get put on the spot about lore, which is like, if they answer those questions, they may have to retcon themselves later. And it's just like, yeah, heat is on. What you got? So what's going on?
I think Doug Byers is your spirit animal because his favorite planeswalker is also Chandra.
I know. It makes me so happy.
So I think that you
Doug, you're my hero.
You could be BFFs with Doug Bayer. So I think that's it for our community. I mean, obviously there was a lot of information there, but let's go ahead and take a look at the couple of GPs that we had over the weekend. So the first one was GP Liverpool. So this is the Channel Fireball promoted GP. It was limited, and it had a total of 1,772 players, which is pretty awesome. The winner of the tournament has the best last name ever. It was Martin Dang. Dang.
Man, that's a lot of players. He must have had a hard day's night. Yeah. Beating all those players.
Yeah, but he was working like a dang. I bet all the dangs were very happy with him, his family.
So good. He's going to win a lot of money there, but it should be noted that Mr. Dang, it can't buy you love. I just want you to understand, can't buy you love.
But the top 8 was also had some very notable names, specifically one that I have a hard time pronouncing. But I practiced for the cast.
You actually did.
This is what you listened for, right? For Morgan to mess this up.
Yeah, exactly. This is the best part. So we have Lucas Blohon. Yeah. So yeah, that's fine. I have heard his name multiple times. Timothy Simino, which is an awesome name. I enjoy that. And Marcio Carvalho.
Nice.
Carvalho.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I've been taking Spanish lessons, so I can actually, say some of those.
I hope he's not even kidding. I hope that's actually what he's doing is like studying.
Too bad he's Portuguese.
Same kind of sense.
Oh,
same.
Man, this one still goes on the blooper reel. That's the best.
It's still Latin based.
Wow,
so.
you almost said that's the same.
No, I said it's still Latin based.
It's Spanish, Portuguese. Thanks, Ben Stark.
I didn't say it was almost. I didn't say it was the same. They're both Latin based languages. I can still take Spanish and be able to say a name better. Gosh. Anyway, Dave was saying that he should just get banned already, so I don't have to keep saying his name. So there.
I did actually say that, but not on the record.
Too bad.
So I didn't say that.
I love how also in our show notes of the top 8 deck list, like we're going to talk about limited deck lists. No.
I mean,
top 5 cards makes more sense to me.
Yes, exactly. Those are there, and I will talk about those.
I expanded a little bit because we have a limited GP coming up in the area. This
deck
weekend.
lists still don't mean very much because each draft is so different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't normally look at the deck list. I did look at Martin Dang's deck list though, and it was interesting because he drafted a Grixis deck, which seems a little odd in this format. That's not unheard of. And he really didn't have any bombs. He had like 1 Crater's Claws. I mean, and like other than that, you're not like, oh man, this deck was just ridiculous. But
it is a weird archetype to kind of go into. But
so Fate, you can definitely like 2-color Fate, and depending what the fixing looks like, there's only Tri-lands are uncommon. So honestly, it's really not that difficult to build. You lose out on the powerful like more fun commons, and like charms are really awkward when you see them. But otherwise, like there's definitely drafts where you can just be like, blue, black, splash, red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My assumption is he probably is in red and Fate Reforged because the red and Fate Reforged is so much better. But
yeah, he is basically blue, black, splashing a couple of red cards. Right. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's like unheard of, but it's just like you don't see it as much.
No, I mean definitely like just type play with the high card quality because that's where it's at. So.
Well, let's take a look at the top 5 cards here real quick, because this is going to be important in a limited setting, and with one coming up locally, then it might be good to know. So we start off with Goblin Heel Cutter, definitely a red aggressive card. Now, a red I think has overall some of the weaker side of things between Fate and Khan's limited play.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have like the most exciting cards, but Heel Cutter is gross.
Yeah,
it sets up some crazy turns, and it's really a card that like can take an average like red deck or like an average Warriors deck, and all of a sudden they can just have one turn where it's just like, oh no, I'm just dead here. Like it does not surprise me to see Heel Cutter on this list.
Mm-hmm. Saw a couple of Heel Cutter decks in Constructed too.
Yeah, that is very true.
We also have Raksasha's Secret. So this to me represents like kind of where we want to be in the grindier matchups that can happen a lot in this limited format. And they specifically mentioned like going turn 3 Secret into turn 4 Angler. It was something that they were seeing.
And Angler's a card I've done a lot of drafts this week. And purposely I've tried to draft some strategies I'm not used to, pick some try to build around some cards, and I've thrown away some money this week, let me tell you. But I said Gurmag Angler is something a card that's grown on me. Like it's a card that it's a huge signal if it's going late, and it's really powerful. Like it's surprisingly easy, especially in blue and black. Just like if you have any good removal, you can just you can just curve like debilitating injury into a blue like a bounce spell or something else, and all of a sudden you've got a 5/5 and you're stabilized the board on turn 4, and it's like okay, cool. Now I get to play Treasure Cruise in this deck too. Like, okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
The next one is kind of a given. It's Outpost Siege.
I don't know.
A rare was good.
I had no idea. A rare enchantment that's really hard to deal with. Yeah, okay, that's.
You mean then your limited deck you get to draw 2 cards a turn compared to your opponent?
That's weird.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can't imagine that being good. Oh wait. Next up is the rare uncommon elite scale guard. If you were listening to any of sort of the Pro Tour coverage when players would talk about their drafts, they would be like, yeah, we would just compare every card that was like below rare to elite, or we would just compare all the uncommons to elite scale guard to see if it was better or worse than it, and then just like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've yet to open one of these in a draft.
Oh, it's so disappointing.
Like I want one. Give it to me.
Yeah, this card apparently is the Nutter Butters. I know that I played against it in pre-release, and it's really good when your opponent has a deck focused around it. And you're just like, oh, okay, cool.
You don't even need to be focused.
Like the crazy thing about this card is it makes things like the protection spell, the feat of resistance, it makes that card obscene. It's just like, okay, you have 2 blockers. All right, well, pro that color, attack, tap the other one. You're dead? Okay, cool. Next game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this card is it comes down. And if it doesn't bolster itself, you put it on another guy that can attack immediately.
Yeah,
you just immediately get in there.
Yeah. Good card. Good card.
Really good.
And then lastly, we have Orc Sure Shot.
It's your boy.
You talked about this card before. This
card is awesome. I definitely played a lot with it during pre-release. I know it was a while ago, but during pre-release. And, he combos very well with a lot of the token-generating cards. And he's going to work pretty well in in Dragons and Tarkir. We get a Dragon Fodder back. That's pretty good with this guy. So, and you still have the
Sandstep Outcast.
Yeah, you still have that guy.
Token too, which is gross.
And you still have a way to abuse this gentleman here. So I'm a big fan.
I think what's interesting to note, if we're talking limited, I know we don't do that often, but if you take a look at this top 5, and yeah, there's a rare in it, but 4 out of the 5 cards are from Fate Reforged. Like, that set is extremely powerful compared to cons. And in sealed, you get 3 and 3. It's not like 2-to-1 cons like it is in draft. So you could definitely the power level of sealed decks compared to like when it was 6 packs of cons to 3 and 3. They've gotten more powerful. The aggro decks are scarier because they have more things like Heel Cutter, and the format definitely is something to pay attention to. That you're going to see bombs, you're going to see very good cards.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Mike, you're going to be the only one venturing up to GB Cleveland this weekend, unfortunately. But
pulling out on me, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. I'm gonna waste $60 to scrub out of a limited tournament that I haven't practiced for whatsoever.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I've actually been trying to practice for this a little bit. Just like I'm excited for it. Like, I don't know, like GP in the backyard. Like I want to be that story. You know what I mean? Like.
No one's gonna blame you. And this format I have no doubt that it is fun, but I just haven't had the time to actually test drafts or do test seals or anything like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm with Morgan on this one. Like I didn't even really consider going just because we're going to the Invitational in a couple weeks, and I've done a couple sealeds from free releases and maybe one draft of this format, so I don't really feel adequately prepared, and I don't doubt that it's going to be fun just because GPs are always just awesome, but I don't know, I can't justify it.
That makes sense.
So let's talk about GP Miami. This was the Star City Games Run tournament, and it had a total of 1,387 players, so a bit less than Liverpool, which is, I guess isn't super surprising. I mean, you pull a lot of people from all across Europe over to Liverpool, while this might be a little bit more regionalized just due to it being so far, south.
It's less drivable
in the U.S. Yeah, exactly.
I think honestly the weather, obviously it's getting better now, but like a lot of I'm thinking of south of us, even like Kentucky and stuff have gotten so hit as well this winter that it's probably made a couple of them rethink what, probably can't go to make this drive.
Yeah, just not going to be able to do it. No, I don't blame them. So the real story though of this GP was Green White Devotion kind of busting out on the format, making people gain hundreds and hundreds of life and causing game 1 draws. Who doesn't love that? Oh wait, no one loves that.
Sam Black loves it.
Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. They kept saying that over and over again on coverage. They're like, "Yeah, Sam Black is built for this."
He was having a grand old time.
It's just his deck, and I'm like, he sounds miserable. Then I don't understand. But no offense, Sam Black. I know you don't listen, but you do have one of our cards once. But
so I say this: Nick Miller, stop it.
Yeah, that was so obviously Cedric and P. Sully are there providing coverage, and they're great. They definitely did not pull any punches as far as that's concerned with berating Nick Miller for showing a green white versus green white.
Yeah, Nick Miller is the guy who does the deck text now, and he is the one who also chooses the on-camera matches for Star City, and he's chose them, and they even said he chose it saying, "I assumed it would be a quick matchup." No, Nick, no, just stop. The picture that Dave, I was watching it live. The Dave sends a picture into chat. Both players are in the 400s in lives. They can barely fit everything onto the camera. They ran out of dice.
Yeah, they ran out of dice. They ran out of overlays for the manifest cards.
There was a Fleeceman line that was set to cons. Because they ran out of dice.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. And so I mean, the top 8 itself has
who won, Morgan?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Daniel.
This is the American GP.
Yeah, I know.
Cicchetti.
Okay, there we go. I wasn't sure how to start it off, but Cicchetti won with Green White Devotion. His opponent was actually Brad Nelson's brother, Corey Baumeister. And They were both playing Green White Devotion. It was a Green White Devotion mirror match, so that sounds fun.
Well, okay, so it should be noted. Dave, I think you're about to say this as well, so I'll let you go.
Oh, I was just going to do a little background on Corey, but
There's a funny story for him as well. But
okay,
the interesting thing. So, Chetty is in Sam Black's camp actually.
Yeah,
his list is Sam Black's list. It's important to note that between these two lists, like the Star City Games list, which was like Brad Nelson and all those guys
the Roanoke list.
Their mirror tech was not nearly as good as Sam Black's mirror tech, and you saw that in the finals. You saw how good that was. So it was really interesting to see that like they both came to the same decks. But like if you ever want to examine how like one card can win or lose a matchup, don't go watch the whole finals. Don't do that to yourself. It was almost 2 hours long. However, like you had one list had Teamer Sabretooth, and the other list did not.
Yeah.
And the list of Teamer Sabretooth, which was Chetty's and Sam Black's list, dominated the mirror match. Like absolutely dominated it.
Yeah, and if you're not sure how Team of Sabretooth dominated, it would basically recur Apollo Chronos basically infinitely, or as many times as you need to just wipe out your opponent's board.
You could also recur Reclamation Sage, which destroyed opposing Master of the Unseens, and I also got to do sweet things like I manifested the spell, bounce it. Oh, now I'll cast the spell. Like, manifest this Banishing Light, bounce Banishing Light to my hand, cast Banishing Light. So it was cool to see that like when you talk about Sam Black as a deck builder, he's pretty impressive, to be quite honest, because he even thought this through and had the tech for it, and it paid off with a win.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. They were talking about it, and they were like, both of these kind of teams came to the realization that, this deck's insane. And then, like, Sam Black was the one to be like, all right, so what happens if we play the mirror match? And then, like, the Roanoke guys were just kind of like, that's not going to happen.
We're not going to play the mirror match.
And then, they changed one card and ends up winning the GP for him. But what I was going to say with Corey Baumeister, he is obviously he's Brad Nelson's brother. He's been on the Pro Tour before. They kind of, I believe it was when Brad Nelson first started coming up, like when he first burst onto the scene. And they were both kind of on the Pro Tour at the same time. And I don't know if he just stopped playing or whatnot, but I remember I saw Brad Nelson tweeting about it, but he was like super excited to play in this GP with his brother for the first time in a long time and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if this was Corey's first tournament back or, if he's been back for a while and this was just the first GP that they were both at. But they actually, Brad Nelson and him got paired up in the last round, and Brad scooped him into the top 8 to get him back on the Pro Tour, which was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought there was a cool anecdote that was floating around out of that too, where so he gets in the top 8 and he had someone come up to ask him to sign something, and he's like, "You're Brad's brother, right?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Can you sign this, Mr. Nelson?" And he's like, "So I don't get a first or last name?"
That's awesome.
I thought that was pretty hilarious.
In the top 8, though, we have some other surprising deck lists to show. We have Mono Red Aggro, piloted by Ryan Grodzinski.
Didn't he play tight end for the Patriots?
No, it's not Rob Gronkowski.
Oh my god, man! How awesome would it be if it was Rob Gronkowski? just like Dash Mardu Scout.
For some reason, I don't think he'd be good at Magic, but
we also have another Mono Red.
You saying him no think good?
I'm just a hunch.
Too many concussions.
We also have Brian Lee showing up with Mono Red Aggro, and then Andrew Boswell playing Abzan Aggro, and Chad Castle playing Abzan Whip, which is really, really surprising. And then lastly, we have Ralph Batesh playing Abzan Aggro again. I said aggro lots of times. Oh, and then lastly, I almost forgot about this list. Zan Said playing Naya Aggro. Again, more aggro, please.
It should even be pointed out, though, that the two Abzan Aggro lists
are different.
Are starkly different.
Yeah.
Boswell's list is something he's been like tuning and working on for a long time.
Yeah,
and but there's his is much more like slower. He's playing Warden of the First Trees. The other list is like Tassiger and has some bigger stuff. So
I just want to point out that Chad Castell's list, the Abzan Whip deck, is Jerry Thompson's list.
Oh, okay.
Which Jerry T was playing this at the tournament as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool if you haven't seen that list. Running Commune with the Gods and then stuff like Banishing Light main deck that you haven't seen in Whip decks, and just gives you a couple extra targets for
Turns
the
out that's pretty
gods.
good. Turns out when you can just get your removal spell out of your draw 5, that's fine. I know you drop 5, but look at 5.
Yeah, I love Jerry T's decks because he finds every little angle. You know, it's like it'd be good. Banishing Light, which nobody else is
And it
playing
was good.
right
I
now.
mean, Green White also played it to much success as well. So,
Yeah.
Well, it should also be noted though, and I think that some of the devotion decks had this. I have to check real quick here, but it's important to note that his sideboard plan also includes Master of the Unseen, and he can commune for his sideboard cards, which is really when you're bringing in board cards, you want to see them, like being able to pseudo to peer through the depths every time you want to look for them is really good. Because that card, has obviously, proven itself to be very, very impressive this weekend. But we had already sort of identified it, as a card that, went under blue-black control and is pretty dominating. And, against other forms of control can just be pretty good. So to see it, to see him identify that and then have a way to tutor for it and to see his list also in the top 8, it's just like, and if you watched his match against he was on camera against Patrick Chapin, like, you want to see, like Jerry Thompson, he said before he's got to shake the rust off a little bit and do other things, but the man's still very good at Magic.
Yeah.
And that match was, in my opinion, proof of it.
He dominated. Chapin did stumble a little bit on his mana, but it was just not close.
Yeah.
It was just
100%. I did watch that matchup, and it was a good one to watch.
Yeah.
Now another thing that we want to bring up, though, is Osip Libidowitz got 9th. And he was playing Red, White, Splash, Black. So he was playing Mardu, splashing for Sorens and Crackling Doom, right?
Yeah, he played 1 Sorin main and 3 Crackling Dooms main.
Mm-hmm.
And then Crackling Doom in the sideboard along with
Mardu Charm, right?
2 Mardu Charm and an Utter End. So that was it for the black. Oh, and another Sorin on the board. So
Gotcha. I know that Ben Stark was also playing a Mardu list that had access to Thoughtseize, as well as Crackling Doom.
Yeah, they're both playing similar lists. It's basically just the red-white list. Ben Stark had the Crackling Dooms main and Thoughtseize on the board.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. And so this is sort of the new direction that we're seeing red-white going. Going back full circle, kind of. Going back to Mardu.
Yeah, a little bit.
little bit.
It's not the same deck, but I mean...
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I mean, I've obviously been playing red-white for the past, 2-3 weeks. And I liked it a lot, but I think this is the next step, especially if these devotion decks they are going to pick up. Let's just face it.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to pick up green-white devotion. So, I mean, this is better suited to fight those decks.
Right. I mean, we have another weekend of really big competitive play for this current standard. We have Houston this weekend.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah. Texas. It's big, man. I don't know where it is.
they got cities.
Yeah.
That should probably be a huge open based on what I've heard about Texas.
Because everything's bigger there?
Correct.
Okay. But I mean, after that, we have pre-releases and we have a new standard, starting off with the Invitational.
The Invitational.
Man, that's
not daunting at all.
Yeah, that is a big kick in the crotch right there. Just
we have to play Legacy too. Yay!
Yeah, that hasn't changed much.
Yeah,
I know, but we don't play Legacy.
No, it's true. We do not
cast.
So
for us,
I like to feel that I Sean McLaren Legacy a lot. Just like mental theory craft.
You lone wolf Legacy a lot.
Granted, most of the time my opponent's not very good.
Oh, okay. Makes it easy on you.
You can read that however you want to read into that.
So enough about deck lists. This is actually kind of good because our question of the week actually has to do with GP Miami. So Seasgate happened over the weekend. On camera, a player revealed their hand to a Thoughtseize and appeared to hide a Hero's Downfall under another card, which is a Garrick Primal Hunter. So the question is this something that we think was intentional or was it an honest mistake? What can people do to prevent this type of thing happening to them? Mike, you have your hand raised.
Oh, thank you.
On this audio medium.
Dave, I want to give you credit for not this would be a very easy question to Jade, to sort of lean one way or the other. When you said and appeared to hide a Hero's Downfall, he hid a Hero's Downfall. This is my strong opinion, okay? Because immediately when picking up his hand, if you watch on camera, he slides the Hero's Downfall back to the front. And then, it is okay with, he knew it was there. He isn't like, oops, I forgot about this. And the person who would say, oops, I forgot about this, is going to call a judge. Okay? First off, bad on your opponent. Okay, on his opponent, because he sort of touched some cards and that was it. Now I'm saying you have to pick up all the cards, but spreading them out would be fine. It should also have been noted that he didn't catch a Hero's Downfall, nor was there a land in his hand. And his opponent played a land the next turn and Hero's Downfalled his guy. And he didn't catch this?
Yeah, and it's definitely mattered too. It wasn't like...
Oh, no, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to play his Tassiger safely.
Yeah, and I think the situation was that the person who got Thoughtseize had 3 lands.
Yes.
And his opponent ended up taking a Silence the Believers.
Yes.
I believe, because it was the only removal spell that he saw. And, yeah.
It's really, honestly, like, a lot of people were criticizing Cedric Phillips about this, because the guy draws for turn, draws a land, very obviously. And Cedric's like,
it's like a land or a waste.
And he's like, well, he drew that. Here's Downfall turn. That was pretty good. And it's like, oh, come on, that's not what he drew at all. You know what I mean? Like, so, but like, and it's not his fault. And you can't. But like, if they go back and now they won't use, they said during a tournament they won't use video evidence to it, but they can review it after the fact. But if after the fact the announcer even says, well, it looks like you drew Hero's Downfall here, then does it get shady? Does it get like, oh, well, we see this, well, other people saw this? You know what I mean? Like, that seems awkward to me. But this felt like cheating. Like, watching this looked really scummy.
It's very definite. Like, you can clearly see his hand. You can clearly see right after the Thoughtseize that there's a Hero's Downfall. You can clearly see him draw a land. Like, it seems a lot more clear than the Shufflegate incident.
It's actually true.
That happened, in all honesty. So I would hope that they review this to do something, but it's something that is much like Shufflegate, very educational. In knowing how to make sure that your opponent is being honest with what they were revealing to you.
No, I'm gonna go the other way here. No, I didn't like break this down like the Zapruder film or anything like that. Like, I didn't like watch this a million times. I watched it once. I watched there's a YouTube video out there. Which, can we link that in the show notes?
Yeah, we can find it. I mean, you can probably find it yourself, listeners. Okay. We've tried to minimize the linkage in our show notes to keep you guys guessing on what we're going to talk about. But
anyway, it's out there. So I watched it one time, and it does look bad.
Oh, it looks super bad.
I don't know. This was somebody that I've never heard of before. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea who this person is. I don't know. I don't know if I definitely say that he definitely was cheating. Like, I think it could have been an honest mistake.
Okay, so then how do you, if it's an honest mistake, why don't you rectify it then? He had the ability to rectify it.
So yeah, that's the thing too. Like, when you said like it's on the opponent, like, especially if I'm on a GP level, and I always do this anyway. I always write down the hand.
Of course.
Like, if I see my opponent's hand, I'm writing down all the cards, which everybody should do if you a competitive player and you want to win.
Helpful tip.
It's a helpful tip. So when you played a card that is not written down, shouldn't that just tip you off like, oh, hey, wait a minute, I just saw your hand and you didn't have a Hero's Downfall in it? It was odd to me that there was not at least a discussion about that or a judge call or anything at that point. Yeah. So I don't really know what happened
and
there.
It's the land that he drew for turn that probably would have tipped him off, yeah.
Right.
And I think it's important to note here that by the rules of what Thoughtseize says, reveal does not say reveal some, it's reveal all.
Right.
And he failed to reveal all.
Right. He did put his hand down on the table.
So we're saying, and I'm actually, so you're suggesting that it is within the rules to put your hand down like that and purposely try to stack your cards so that you can't see another card. It is within the rules to do this.
I'm not saying that's okay to do that. I don't want that to be misconstrued.
I'm
saying, like, if he put his hand down on the table, it's very possible that he didn't know. But if it were me, and I noticed that, like, maybe there was a card hidden under a card that he might not have seen, I probably would be like, oh, did you get this one too?
Yeah,
or something like that.
The problem is that he picked up his hand and it immediately slid the card from the back to the front of his hand.
Right.
So the other thing,
first thing that he did.
All right, yeah, I didn't look at this that closely, but just watching it one time and just seeing it, like, I kind of knew what was going to happen just from the description of it. Mm-hmm. But then watching it, I didn't come off as like, oh man, that guy is just like a savage cheater.
I mean, a lot of the thing that is kind of telling for me is the way that he actually displayed his hand. He put it all down, technically, all the cards were there, but he laid it out in a way to actually simulate that all cards were being displayed. So it wasn't just like he put all his cards into a pile and like made his opponent look at it. He put things evenly spaced, and he made it seem like he was revealing everything. So that to me shows intent. I want to deceive you. I want you to think that you have recorded everything in my hands by displaying it in such a manner that you would also find typical of this card. We've been playing with Thoughtseize Standard for such a long time. We were used to people showing us their hands in a certain way. So in all honesty, that is the most telling thing, is that he displayed his hand in such a way to make his opponent easily believe that he was being honest about what was in his hand.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, if that's what happened, then that's a scumbag move. I mean,
it's a total
what
scumbag move. And like the most unfortunate thing about it is that you know that he's done that to like a ton of other people. Because that takes skill. How do you perfectly lay a card over another card and just it be natural? Like, that's the thing to me.
Yeah, another thing with that too, and I'm not. Again, I don't know this guy. I don't want to say that he does this all the time or anything like that. But that is like such a low risk cheat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if it does get caught, it'd be like, oh, sorry, I must have just got stuck under the card. Like, it's something that's almost impossible to catch, unless that's where the opponent could have said something, after the Hero's Downfall got played. Like, wait a minute, you didn't have a land in your hand. How did you play land Hero's Downfall? Like, that should have raised some suspicion. But I don't know how that got missed and whatever else. If you want to prevent this from happening to you, just make sure you see all the cards. It's pretty much as simple as that. And if you do write down all the cards, keep track. Like, even if I know a lot of people that like, even if they do write down the cards, they'll like not write down the lands. They'll just write down the spells, and that's okay. But like, if you want like full information, then it's you should write down everything, all the lands, cards,
everything that you possibly can.
Cross them off as they get played. That's just good mechanics anyway. That's like, what you should be doing.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so we have the video pulled up here. I just want Dave to look at this for a second, and I'll send the link to I'll put it through the show chat. So this is where the card is. It's sitting. So if you're watching the video, the Garrick on the left. It's on the bottom of the Garrick. So he's thought-seizing. He's looking at the cards. He takes the Science of the Believers. Now watch as this guy picks his hand up. Ready? And hold on here. He's gonna draw off a turn and then slide the Hero's Downfall to. It's either right before he draws or right after he draws. He just slides the Hero's Downfall to the front.
This is entertaining.
I know. I'm sorry. This is really bad
audio.
But like you can watch along. You can watch along with this. Wait.
Yeah, follow us as we talk about this.
And oh, look, this Hero's Downfall. Where'd that come from in the back of my hand? So it's pretty. Like he knew what his line was here when he was untapping, and like to know, like to play his land and just be like, okay, here's the card I'm going to cast. Like that seems, I don't know, pretty damning as far as evidence for myself. So.
To me, you did not reveal your whole hand,
and that alone is
that's
against
the most thing that it was pretty offsetting to me, because if let's say that I were a new player playing in like my first GP and I played Thoughtseize and I know how people reveal their hands to me, and the way that he had presented his hand looks like all the cards are being revealed. You cannot tell that there's anything under that Garrick. Watching it from coverage, watching it from the angle that they provided us. Now, how it actually looks, in person, maybe that could be your argument, is that, oh, well, if you saw it in person, you clearly see there's something under there. So it's really, the Thought Caesar's fault, and not the Thought ZZ.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I guess, looking at that, it's not really a high value cheat, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, so I could see where he messed up putting the card there, but I don't know how you can walk away saying it doesn't feel scummy, or for him to be like, oh man, I had this card.
If it wasn't, it definitely didn't feel right. But I don't know. Watching it initially, I didn't feel like it was like, oh man, that's like clearly cheating.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I had this. I feel like had this been caught, like that game, like there definitely would have been some sort of warning and possible like discussion, like investigation for DQ, because it happened on camera. They won't have that investigation during the event, which seems terrible.
Yeah, it goes to like the whole thing. It's like, well, why would he do this on camera? Like, if it was,
If
it was just
we've
like,
asked
well,
that question about people who
yeah.
vacated thousands of dollars. So,
right,
I mean,
exactly. It's like, well, it's. I guess if that was on purpose, then you're just a scumbag and you're not very smart. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
why do they do it? For the sexual thrill. The sexual
thrill. Anyway, now some ways that you could probably avoid this happening to you if this is something that you're concerned about. In all honesty, ask your opponents that you could pick up their cards when you Thoughtseize them. And
don't ask, just do. These are mine now. That's what Thoughtseize says.
yeah.
Take all your opponent's cards. Yes,
Sniff them.
Or spread them out. Or what I do a lot of times for my opponents, I spread out all my cards and turn them towards them so they can. I expect people will want to write them down in some persuasion. But as someone who, if you are Thoughtseizing someone, just ask to pick them up. Because it is someone else's property, and they could be a little weird about that. But if they just say no, then ask them, could you at least arrange them?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if they're giving you a hard time about spreading their cards out, then you may have good reason to do it.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, and Dave knows this, to be sure as well. This is not a new cheat. This is actually one of the oldest cheats in the Magic book. It's not revealing a card, card got hidden here, or whatever. I mean, go back and look at Bertoncini's, or one of his most famous cheats is the sliding the your tiny leader general.
Kira.
Yeah, so like sliding that back into his hand, right? Just like there it is. It's just information that could be known. It's information that could be watched, but it's just about the very subtle. And of course, if your opponent again is a nice guy who's like, oh yeah, cool, like this hero's downfall, isn't that great? And you're like, oh yeah, cool. It's like round one of a GP. Come on, we're just friends here. No, you're not.
Yeah, and again, this is on you. If you are the one casting Thoughtseize, it is on you to pay attention.
Yeah, you need to write this stuff down.
I know I said that maybe the guy that revealed his hand could have said, "Oh, you missed this card," but honestly,
victim blaming. He's victim blaming.
That's not what it is. All right, if somebody casts a Thoughtseize on me, a lot of times I'm putting my hand on the table. I'm sitting back because I know they're going to write it down.
Oh, no,
and
sure.
I'm not thinking about did he remember to write down all the cards in my hand? I'm not even looking at what he's writing. I'm just assuming.
That's
I'm probably
still different than what happened. That's
right.
absolutely different than what happened.
Right, I know. I'm saying, but to prevent this, the best thing to do is to make sure that you write down everything. You know what's in their hand. Cross it off as they play it.
It is the best way.
It is the best way.
All right. So that's a pretty good question of the week. I'm glad we had a return of that. So let's go ahead and go into our fun segment that'll probably take the next half hour or so of the podcast because, fun stuff. Fate Reforged Top 5. We're going to redo or redux because that's fun.
Redux sucks.
So we basically wanted to, take the time before we, dive in full bore into Dragons of Tarkir spoilers next week to take a look back at Fate Reforged and see what, cards were specifically standard constructed cards that we wanted to rank and talk about, basically. And we thought it'd be fun to go back and listen to what we had said about these cards previously as compared to what we think about them now. Obviously, I guess thinking about them now, we're probably pretty high on them anyway, but it'll be interesting to see what we thought about them previously.
Yeah, so if you listen to our review episodes, we always
Which you should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously, if you have 5 hours of your time, you can
It's
carve
not-
that out.
What are we? Limited resources? No.
I know. I'm just kidding. That was a little bit of an exaggeration. It's 2 hours.
Yeah. Or 3.
Give or take.
We're trying to keep it crisp. We'll move Dragons of Tarkir right along.
It is another big set, so sorry.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be longer.
Yeah. But anyway, we always pick a top 5, what we think our top 5 standard cards will be out of that set. Obviously, it's probably going to be a little different than what we think now. So basically, we created a new top 5 based on
What we've seen.
and what we know now, seeing these cards actually being played. So.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and we're actually going to have clips of what we said clipped into here. So we'll do a little going back to the past. We'll do a little Sarkening, if you will. So we'll start at 5. Is everyone good starting at 5 and working our way up?
Yeah.
I want to point out that we had a few cards that didn't make the top 5.
Okay.
And
We just won't have clips, but we will mention
No,
them.
because I wanted to point out that when Dave came up with this idea, I thought it was a good idea. However, he failed to quantify what his list actually meant. He says, top 5's cards. But then I'm like, Wild Slash, which is apparently one of our, a case could be made for us. However, Wild Slash is showing up below cards that are seeing less play. So I don't understand what top card means. Is it coolest mythics that Dave likes to cast? Is it things that, in his argument was that something that's on the list has helped an archetype exist, which is great. Wild Slash exists in no less than 3 to 4 decks, plus the ability to play in others. So I don't understand how that doesn't rank higher. It doesn't make sense to me, and honestly, in any quantifiable way you look at data, it doesn't make sense. But it's Dave's list, so go ahead, do what you want.
Okay. So,
No, I don't care. I'm not
all
going
right,
to listen.
So,
Nope.
well, I'm going to go anyway, so you're going to have
cool.
to listen.
What's up,
Along with
Morgan?
everybody
How you
else. So what in my head, I guess I didn't write this down, but in my head, I was thinking most impactful cards, which I guess would have been a more quantifiable way to put it there. Wild Slash is certainly good. It's shown up in a bunch of different decks. We see some decks even playing 4 main deck. So I'm not saying that Wild Slash is a bad card or not played at all. I think the decks that it's played in, which right now would be these Mardu, Jeskai, red-white decks, those decks would all exist without Wild Slash. They would still be tier 1 decks.
But you did not say top 5 archetype enabling cards.
Okay,
If that was your
that's
argument,
true.
then I would agree with you.
Okay. All right. Well, next time I will
I think it comes down
make
to
sure to word it correctly.
I think it comes down to ubiquitous of play if we're talking about top cards.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
that's
If we
fair.
said most powerful cards, I would agree with you as well, but that's not what we said. So just remember that I have a problem with the list as we go forward. That's all I'm
Okay.
going to say.
But nobody wants to hear about Wild Slash, Mike.
Okay.
There.
You do realize what we're doing is pulling audio clips from something we already talked about, talking about it again. But you're
Yeah.
right. Nobody wants to hear about Wild Slash.
No, just Wild Slash, though. It's shock with some upside sometimes.
I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight, so.
Oh, it's good for ratings and for my fist.
Anyway, let's go ahead and start with the case could be made. We have Wild Slash, Soulfire Grandmaster, Mastery of the Unseen, and Crux of Fate. These are the cards that were kind of a good Mastery of the Unseen, kind of a late bloomer.
Little dark horse there.
Yeah, a little bit. But let's start with number 5. We'll
Number 5.
Valor's Stance. So let's take a moment and we'll see what we said about Valor's Stance.
I wanted to note Valor's Stance. This one's kind of been out there a while.
Just note it. I
Yeah,
think this
just-
is probably my favorite white card of the set.
Oh, really? Just period.
This,
All right.
I'm going to start playing FNIPS again because of this card.
That's all right. Yeah, it's 1 and a white for a choose 1 instant. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, or destroy target creature with power of 4 toughness or greater. Yeah, this is something that I know if blue-white heroic is still a deck, it's going to be really good in that deck, probably.
This gives Jeskai a slight chance against Abzan now.
That's 100% true.
We
as
can
well.
actually kill the rhinos or protect any guy from a.
And you can kill
Kill Anafenza.
Wingmate Rock.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah, that's a good card.
So yeah, Keller called it on that one. I have to say,
right on the head.
first of all, he did start playing FNMs again because of that card. 100% fact. It was played heavily main deck in Jeskai aggro.
I did it
Fact.
myself multiple times.
100%. Yeah, like it was the best of the modal spells. So yeah, we got that. So yeah, we were pretty spot on in Valor's Stance. It's hard to get that one wrong though.
Oddly enough, like seemingly the most obvious use in heroic,
Just
it's never
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 a
picked
thing.
it up.
Also, actually really good against Heroic, though.
Yeah, surprisingly, that's weird. But yeah, Valor's Stance, good card.
Yeah, definitely.
Still think that card's the truth. Not to cut you off.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
That's awesome.
So I agree with its inclusion in this list.
I made a point,
As
and Mike agreed with me.
Inaccurate as the list's identification may be.
Yeah.
Such a hater.
This is going to be like a theme throughout this entire thing. So number 4, we have Whisperwood Elemental. Let's go ahead and go back into the past and see what we said about this one.
Whisperwood Elemental. This guy, at first when I saw him, I was like, you know what, meh. But I've actually come around on him a lot more. So he is a 3 green for a 4/4 elemental, and then at the beginning of your end step, manifest the top card of your library. So if he makes it to the end step, you got 6. You paid 5 mana for 6 worth of power and toughness, basically. And then he has this other ability, which is pretty interesting, which you could sacrifice him, and then until end of turn. Face-up non-token creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, manifest the top card of your library. So he has sort of like wrath protection. He has that wrath insurance. I think this guy is pretty sweet, actually. I don't know where he would necessarily like go. No, like what decks would want to use him, but I think he has a home somewhere. I think like just having the like that secondary ability that kind of gives you that protection, especially maybe even something like mono green or green devotion, where you just like wouldn't mind having something that'll protect you when you get end hostility or something like that. It might be worth it.
That's probably the best place for him.
Yeah.
That's going to be the deck that has the elves and the Sylvan Caryatids, whereas it's a non-token, so you can't really use it that way.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
deck that's going to have the most creatures out is going to be just mono green.
Right. So I really like this guy, and like so if he goes in that deck and like ends up being a 4 of, this is like one of the mythics that I'm just saying, like if it did, this is like one of those mythics that could just be like shoot up in price. So yeah,
So it looked like J.K. Simmons apparently was a spokesperson for Whispered Elemental.
yeah, exactly.
Everyone buying Wrath insurance now, Morgan.
You need that wrath insurance. Hey, yeah, called that one. Gonna have to say that. Yeah, let's see. Played a mono green devotion heavily. Was a card that if showed up was going to skyrocket. Yeah. It was a $7 card, and it was like, oh, double the price. So
Yeah. I'll give you props for that one. I think like this is a card. When I talk about most impactful cards, this is what I was talking to you earlier, Mike. Where like this is a card that makes Green Devotion a playable deck. I don't even think that deck would be playable if Whisperwood Elemental was not a card.
I agree, but that's not how you set up your list.
all right.
In the future, we can fix that, and I will agree with you with no animosity.
Okay, the quicker we go through this, the less chance that someone has
I
to
was
get
going to
hurt.
drop it. He kept going. Okay.
Anyway, let's go on to number 3. Also, I'm a fan of this one. It's Outpost Siege. Outpost Siege next, then. So it's 3 in a red for another siege. If you choose cons at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of turn, you may play this card. And then dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to a creature player.
There it is your Phyrexian Arena.
There it is. Perfect.
Right there.
I
It's
feel
just
like
red.
I feel like this card is no good because I like it so much.
No, this. I mean, this card's weird because like we have Chandra in the red decks, and she kind of plays the same thing. But I see a lot of positive things being said about this card, and I like it a lot as well as being like something a sideboard that just like powers you in the late game, and then like gives you an insurance policy a lot of the time. Depending on what you choose, obviously, but I really like this siege. Probably not as much as the blue siege, but I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think interestingly, like it won't see play until Sandra's out of the format.
Yeah.
But that's also because there's so much enchantment removal. So like this is another card that probably greatly benefits from a format that enchantment removal is not as abundant. But this card is definitely sweet.
I'm gonna go with Outpost Siege. I think like, are we good with that one? Is that one a good enough sleeper for me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm cool with that.
Sweet. I'm gonna go with Outpost Siege. I like that card.
I almost nailed it. I did
this
have
just
that
like-
awkward monastery siege
Better.
mention. That was weird, but I picked it as my sleeper. So like,
Good.
yeah,
Is this like Pat Morgan on the back? Is that really what the list is?
I don't mind.
Yeah, can I read the cards next time?
I really appreciate this. I've been feeling kind of low about myself, so
No, I do want to say I still feel my point there holds true. but the format actually shifted a way that I wasn't expecting, and it's so much control with Heroes Downfall now that Outpost Siege is definitively better. But again, if it's like we saw Mono Red top 8 twice this last weekend, if it shifts back that direction, then I could see once again Chandra coming back. So I think it's cool that these two options sort of played off of it. So I won't pat myself on the back the way that Morgan can, but I will say that I think like successfully predicting which one would be better in which format, I think I'm gonna give myself a little credit on that one.
Yeah, it is a little somewhat surprising that it's caught on so fast. But like honestly, I played red white aggro shortly after Fate Reforged came in, and the list that I played actually had both Chandra and Outpost Siege in it, and like playing both cards, I was just like, man, Outpost Siege is just insane. Like this card is like playing with it the first time. I was like, man, this is like a lot better than I thought it was. And obviously it's just exploded. Now you see a lot of decks just playing 4 Outpost Siege in the main now. So it's a mainstay. And I think it's the card that makes red-white strategies tier 1 at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, we have number 2. Number 2 is Tasigur.
Tasigur, the Golden Fang. Delve for a 4/5. Seems pretty good. He costs 5 and a black. All right, fair enough. Then he has an activated ability, which is 2... Simic. I forgot it already. Simic. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. This card is getting a ton of talk. I know that we talked about it kind of last week and saying like all the Japanese players are buying this card out at like $2 a piece. I think it's up to like 3 to 5 now. I think this card is like we'll see play consistently. It blocks rhinos. It could come down early. I like it a lot.
This card is the bee's knees.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I like this card more than most. But.
Mike, you've been playing a whip deck, graveyard strategy, if you will. You like this card?
No, I like this card a lot. I don't know how many I'd play in any deck.
Like 2. I've seen 2 to 3.
Yeah, it's like as being a legend, it makes it a little more awkward than other Delve cards, but it's pretty good.
So yeah, Tasigur is good. We call it a good card. Being good makes sense.
Yeah,
one thing I don't know if I saw it like being as much as a multi-format card as it was. So maybe I underestimated it a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean we're trying to stick to standard, but yeah, I mean I agree. It's shown up in all formats, but yeah, we saw it make like an immediate impact. I mean the first tournament, Gerard Fabiano won the Standard Open with Tasigurs in the sideboard of his Sultai control deck. We've seen it. It's a mainstay in the Abzan mid-range control decks and even in Abzan aggro. So
yeah,
I think we always, we can say we do this as well as Wizards do, but somehow everybody always seems to misevaluate Delve. Like it's always just you think it's really good, and it's still better than that.
Yeah,
like I said, like I got to play Tasigur just doing a little bit of legacy practice last week, playing a small event, playing Tasigur in Shardless Bug, and just like you're just like okay, like kill this, pay 1, get a Tasigur, have protection up, be able to activate it, like what?
Gross.
And we saw it do work like that on camera and the Modern Pro Tour as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean even in Standard, that's like a common play. Is like people will wait until they can play it and activate it in the same turn, so that even if it dies immediately, you're getting some value. And that's just the hallmark of just a great card. Like you're getting some value out of it, even if it dies immediately. So.
Yeah, it's definitely been pretty good. So you know what? Rich in potassium. Keep eating them bananas.
Eating them banners.
To be fair, he's doing a lot of hanging around now.
Yeah, it's true. he's seen better days. But I heard he's pretty charming, though.
Oh, ready? Yeah, we got that one.
That's pretty good.
I don't have anything to add to that.
You shouldn't. We will end on that. Let's go into to number 1 then. Ugin, the Spirit Dragon.
So let's start with the big guy, the number 1 here. Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. He's a colorless planeswalker. Costs 8 colorless mana. If you don't know what Ugin does, you can just look it up. I don't know. But I guess I'll continue to tell you guys. So you can +2 him and he deals 3 damage to our creature player. You can -X him and he he exiles each permanent with converted mana cost of X or less. That is 1 or more color. And then you can -10 and gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put 7 permanents from your hand into play. And he starts off at 7. So what's everyone think about Ugin?
I like Ugin. Big fan.
I'm a big fan of the Spear Dragon, not gonna lie.
I think you could see it in decks like blue-white or blue-black control, potentially in Standard. 8's a lot, but this thing is just going to take over the game if they don't immediately have a Hero's Downfall or an Utter End.
Coming from a person who cast many a Nicol Bolas the last time it was printed, 8 mana, not that much.
I mean, Green Devotion's probably going to pick up this guy too, right?
See, I don't think Green Devotion's a deck for it, though. I've seen a lot of people say that, but its minus is really awkward when you're trying to keep as many mana symbols,
many colored permanents on the battlefield.
So, Devotion for 8, tap Nykthos, play this guy, Devotion for 0. Oh, okay. I like him better in the control shell as well. Like the blue-black control seems like a natural fit. You could see him as like a one of in some of the ramp decks. Something just to go over the top, sort of like Garruk Apex Predator has sort of been that in this format as well, where it shows up sometimes. Though I feel like this card will be built around more just like being colorless. All right, Morgan, I retract my pat on the back. Nice call on Scuttling Doom Engine.
Man. Just go real deep on it, guys. Keep doing it.
Morgan, I had a question. How did you know that was going to be number 1?
I know, I called it right in the beginning. Oh, man. Yeah, we were pretty good on Ugin. He did show up in Mono Green Devotion for Hot Sec, and is in Abzan as a rampy sort of deck that is like a one-of, and then he is a big part of Blue-Black Control. So
he's like the card in Blue-Black Control that still
one
makes
of them.
deck relevant.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, overall, we did pretty good with these cards. All these cards are pretty obscenely powerful on their face in a lot of ways, especially just in a vacuum. So it's kind of not surprising these got to rise to the top, as it were, in this current Standard format. And I'm completely fascinated to see what these cards will do when Dragons gets introduced. I don't know, like, Dragons just being another big set, it is always a mystery to me of how Standard is going to look. Having another big set introduced, sometimes you can have the big set that's like what Avacyn Restored. Was Avacyn Restored super impactful? Let's see, we did a Bonfire and Entreat for the Miracles deck. So what else? Was there anything else huge? Like, I know Sigarda got sideboard play.
That Angel of Glory's Rise created an entire combo deck.
Combo deck, yeah, from that card.
I don't think you can actually compare this. Like, I don't think you can actually do that. I do want to point out that I did successfully cast a turn 5 Ugin.
It was in Modern.
It was in Modern, because Ugin is actually not Red Green Tron, but Blue White Tron. Oh, yeah. So I think, I mean, yeah, I don't think we should give ourselves too much credit here. I think you could see these cards are going to do well. That they have shaken out, as the top, and again, whatever that actually means, Dave. I do think it's interesting, though, to see the interaction between the cards on this list. Like, look at Ugin's interaction with Whispered Elemental. Yeah, Grano Green Devotion isn't playing, or Green Devotion isn't playing Ugin anymore. No, they're going to play Manifest instead, which inherently makes Ugin less good against them. It's really kind of crazy. They actually have double Wrath protection. They have protection from Crux of Fate, and then they have protection from Ugin.
Yeah, I actually had that scenario come up. Like when I played the Abzan control deck, I had that situation come up where like I had End Hostilities and Ugin. I'm like, man, this is kind of like I gotta be careful here.
How do you sequence this? Like you gotta make sure. Like, okay, and don't just say the 5 drop into the 8 drop. I get it. I know how mana works.
No, well, yeah, I was at the point where I could cast either. Yes, but yeah, Ugin is definitely. I don't know. I had it as number 1 just because I think it's the most format warping. I think it's the card that goes over the top of everything. Like, that is the top end. Like, Hornet Queen was like kind of the top end before. Now it's like, oh, Ugin, just get out of here, Hornet Queen.
She's still pretty good. The Queen's
she's still pretty good. No, but like Ugin is a card that like, the Abzan decks are playing Ugin now so they can go over the top of the other Abzan decks that maybe don't have it. So that's what it is. And
yeah. I will say a card I keep seeing getting punished over and over again by Ugin is Elspeth.
Yeah.
Like Elspeth's still fine, but she just is not what she was last format. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like someone play an Elspeth and someone just plays an Ugin onto their board and they're just like -0 go, and it's like, oh, like, well, you're never going to gain any traction. Like it's just really awkward to see how she is sort of like fallen off as like she's still really powerful, but like the format is so much better suited to deal with her now. That whereas last format where you could play the Sphinx's Rev deck and just like when they played their Elspeth with protection, you were like, well, I can't come back from this now. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's an Elspeth. I have ways, and it's like, oh, sorry, Elspeth.
Yeah, apparently dying usually bodes fairly bad for you, so it's too bad. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. Like I said, we'll be doing it unless you guys completely hated it, and then you actually write us or communicate with us in a facet.
Please complain about Dave and his poor listening skills.
Hey,
but
I made the segment.
But we'll hopefully be doing this once we take a look at some Dragons cards and decide what our top 5 is from there. So let's go ahead and wrap it up a little bit. We obviously have some exciting things this weekend. We have GP Cleveland, which is limited.
Look for me; I will be there.
We have GP Auckland, which is also limited, and then we have the Star City Games Open Tournament in Dallas, Texas, which is standard for the large event. So plenty of stuff to watch over the weekend. And if you have some time over the weekend to play locally, you can always do so at Comic Town. They have weekend events that happen all the time. Nothing big happening, obviously, since GB Cleveland is sort of sucking up all the local players and things like that. But open tables and commander pickup games, stuff like
Tell
that.
you what, they're pushing tiny leaders pretty hard.
Yeah, 100%.
And that format's really fun.
It is a huge amount
all of
of
us
fun.
have built tiny leader decks now. Can't help it. We joined the bandwagon.
Yeah. I mean, you own a tiny leader. Like, there's so many of them out there. Like, it feels like you just should have one, and then just be like, "Oh, I'm just going to build this." So, and then you can check out any sort of events or open table stuff that's going on at Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook, and you can look it up on there. Also, look us up on Facebook. We're at Your Instep. It's not that difficult to find. Anytime our show goes up or anything like that, we usually post it on Twitter and on Facebook. So definitely an easy way to know the show is going up. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave a comment or a review if you'd like. And visit our website at yourinstep.com.
You said like it isn't difficult to find. Like, yeah, you just pass priority. You pass priority to your second main phase.
It's such a bad joke. Oh man, that's a terrible magic
joke. And then
joke.
after they're done, you can go to your.
Oh man, jeez. Yep, going to people's turns. That's what I'm best to tell people to do. Apparently. Anyway, this has been another fun-filled and exciting episode of At Your Step. We'll catch you next time. Bye.